It is April the 12th, 2016. I'm Dana Durnford, your host, nuclearproctologist.org, and you can find these videos throughout the internet. I repost that live stream, or Beautiful Girl by Dana, several hours later. Now that we're able to record in 1080, we can't stream in the 1080, but we'll be recording in a 1080, and we'll repost that up at Beautiful Girl by Dana on YouTube right away when the show is over. It takes about an hour and a half to upload for me transferring it. And so today we discover that... Have I got that on the loop or something? Oops. Maybe I did put that on the loop. My apologies. I'm still there. There you go. Now I'm not there no more. Some days are like that. Let me take that off so it doesn't do that again. Okay. Did I say I was perfect anywhere and anytime? No. So, that threw me off for a second, but only for a second. Today, what we discovered was that, let me bring up that picture before I open that up. We discovered that, I'm not plugged in. Hang on. I'll switch cameras here in a second. No, Dana, you can do it in a millimeter of a second, a tenth of a second, millimeter of a second. Dana making up science that time. So much for the boo boo boo. Where are we to? Over here. That one there. Ain't that interesting looking? That's what we just discovered was that nuclear. I know, nuclear. It got nothing to do with a banana. It really don't. It got nothing to do with a banana. And I'm just going to run you through Fukushima. 9.0 earthquake just shook the country for 6 minutes. It was 1,000 times worse than Haiti. Followed by a tsunami that took out 600 miles of the coastline, or 400 kilometers of the coastline, extensively. It took out a lot more than that. The power plants blew up, melted down. This is Unit 1, 100% melt out, melt through, and a melt out. This is a catastrophic event. This is thousands of Chernobyls you're looking at right there. It's confirmed to be all gone. Same thing with Unit 2. Unit 3, I'll let you make up your own mind about that. Kind of hard sometimes. And then there's Unit 4. That's the 4 reactors of the apocalypse. And because Unit 3 was mixed oxide fuel, it's 2 million times worse than a normal reactor. So it's like 2 million reactors. It's so, like, every atom is so intense. Everything is a hot particle. And on a whole different scale because of the mixed oxide fuel in that one. And because of that, we have radiation modelings that were based upon just a couple of days of venting. No one vented that. And I can prove no one went in there and vented that, because if you look at the country and what happened around that power plant, who went in there and vented what? How did you get in there and vent after that thing came through your neighborhood? Anybody? I'm a little confused at how you vent something. But all the models were based up on venting for a couple of days from, rather, this one right here. Not that one. No. Or not that one. See? But this one, because that looks pretty. And so the modeling came out right away based up on just a couple of isotopes from just a couple of releases from many institutions. Norwegian Institute, you have the URAD project model came out. You have France's model. You have Canada, or the Norwegian Institute for Air Research, ENS public forecasting. Does that mean that this stretch was stretching right around the planet had stopped? And so you've seen the 4 reactors. Unit 4. Now, we're led to believe in the media that's Unit 4. We're led to believe by the media that the reactor survived while everything else was destroyed. But in reality, the reactor was completely destroyed. They tore it apart. And then they pretended, all your media told you that. Nobody could figure that out. Said, hey, wait a second. Inside of that is that. Nobody. Matter of fact was Seth Dorn.
Decommissioning work taking place here in Reactor 4.
Here he is inside of Unit 4. And now he's telling everybody he's like an X-ray. So not only did they come out and tell you that it looked like that, but not show you that, they actually pretended that they were in there. So he's pretending that he's inside of Unit 4. Okay, let's keep going here. So Unit 4 was the big hoax. Unit 4, David Suzuki said, if that was destroyed, it's bye-bye Japan, you have to evacuate North America. Well, guess what? That's gone, and it's bye-bye Japan, and you should have evacuated North America, yeah? You get what I'm saying to you? Huh? Do you? Really? Okay, so on the roof was the fuel pools. He said we're still a long way from power being restored at Fukushima. And so the reactor core resides in the lower portion of the reactor pressure vessel. The normal water level inside the reactor is 196 inches or 16 feet above the top of the reactor core. Now, what they're talking about now is a cold shutdown, and then a week later. I'll explain it to you in a second. Nuclear fuel is protected against damage caused by overheating as long as it remains covered with water. And a rough rule of thumb is that it takes 200 gallons of water to raise or lower the level inside the pressure vessel by 1 inch. All right? Okay, now hang on. For the boil rate of 60 gallons per minute a week after shutdown, but Fukushima didn't shut down, right? Fukushima was knocked down. And so, if the reactor cooling third sentence cooling system fails 1 week after the reactor was shut down with the water level inside the pressure vessel that was intact and shut down under normal conditions, it would take approximately 11 hours for the boil off to reduce the water level down to the top of the reactor core. Okay. And when that happens, you gotta listen to this lying sack of shit, but I gotta get my headphones out. Bear with me. Now he's going to talk about when the water boils off after a few hours, what you can expect.
What we believe is a significant amount of fuel damage.
That's okay. That's the NRC talking about the damage. But they got a newscaster.
Will not reach the level if the safety systems fail. If they lose power to those to that reactor or to any other reactors past a few hours from now, you might reach a 3 Mile Island.
Well, 3 Mile Island, because there's a couple of days later he come to apologize. Okay. But the reality was, hang on, where's that headline? March the 18th was more than a few hours. Okay? And you couldn't restore power there if you wanted to, could you? How do you restore power to a melted reactor? Who the hell? Okay, Tommy, you got to go in there and plug her in. I go jack shit. I got me a union. I don't got to do shit. Without cooling, second paragraph from the top, the water boil off will continue to drop the water level below the top of the nuclear fuel. And as the nuclear fuel was uncovered by the water, it would begin heating up. And as the fuel temperature increased to 1800, it was bye-bye Japan and you have to evacuate North America. Now, because this stuff, when it's released through detonations, yeah, because it doesn't look like that on the inside, right? So these were melted down, they detonated. This is many Chernobyls. Here again, many Chernobyls. Here's 6 million Chernobyls. Chernobyl, 1/3 the size. Chernobyl, 30% meltdown. Chernobyl stopped after 10 days. Chernobyl, graphite fuel. This one, mixed oxide fuel, 100% meltdown, much bigger volume, 5 million pounds. Had fuel pools on the roof. Okay, let's keep going. We left up at that. So that country for 400 miles, and we'll talk about that for a quick second. This is a depiction of people died, the red. boxes and numbers of the corresponding death rates along 400 kilometers of coastline, and that's where the nuclear power plants were along that coastline. And they died, these people died because that came true, that came true, that came true. That is unimaginable. You know, how are you going to hook power up, and what are you going to hook it up with, and what tool, and blah, blah, blah. And it's heartbreaking, you know, with families. Now, throughout the country, 30 million bags recovered, highly radiated material. And there was 15 reactors along that coastline where the people died. Get it? Yeah. 14 reactors was another story. March 7th, 2012. The other one was March the 18th. They included another one. And then December 28th, the TEPCO governor, Fukushima governor rather, demanded, get your ass down there and decommission all 10 of those reactors. Yeah, you know what I was going to say. Okay. And so 100 miles from Fukushima was another reactor that they blamed on a quake had temporary stop. Remember what I just showed you about the cooling system? Huh? Do you? Anyway, there's another depiction. So today's headlines, I want to cover. I'm going to come over and say hi to everybody in a bit, but I'm not supposed to be on that one. This one? That one. And that one. Okay. First off, hang on. I got to jimmy that a little tiny bit and come back after so you can actually read everything if you want to. And this is much higher quality. Op-ed, Beautiful Girl by Dina on YouTube. And just these 4 screen captures. Average tritium, we'll put everything back to normal after that. Average tritium concentration in surface water across Canada, 1987, was 5 to 12 becquerels a litre. Okay. Now we're allowed to have 7,000 becquerels. This is the drinking water for Canada, standard for Canada. Look up drinking water standards for Canada and you'll come across this stuff. 7,000 becquerels a litre. Strontium is now included. Iodine. There's 10 times more 132, 30 times more 133, 31 times more iodine, 129 with a 50 million year half-life. Okay, that's not it. Average tritium concentration, reported average 1982-1984, 9 to 11 becquerels. They concluded that only about 10% of this amount could be due to reactor releases from Pickering. There's 25 reactors right there, see? But anyway, this is what they were finding back then. 1991, Health Canada monitored the level after an accident in the Ottawa River, and they seen 400 becquerels at Petawawa and outside Ottawa, 200 kilometers downstream. The level's been diluted to about 150 becquerels a litre. So they were very worried about this event. Now they're not worried about nothing. Now they don't care. 7,000 becquerels a litre. That's 7 million in your hot tub with a 12-year half-life, 120-year lifespan. This came from a chain reaction. When you get it in your body, and if you sit in your hot tub, you're getting like 3 liters. Same thing with a shower. In your skin, absorbed through your body. You're getting a couple for sure. And so are kids. But kids got a smaller volume, and so the radiation is more effective in harming them. I'm going to cover, that's what we're going to cover today, because Fukushima, through the studies on the children, shows us that it's not like a banana. I'll find my spot here in a second. Not that one, maybe this one. But I switched out and put pictures in there to separate it, so I could find it. Let me see, hang on. New chain reaction. All of the stricken reactors and then spent fuel pools. So I'm going to come back and fix that so it's nice and pretty, because we're going to bang through a bunch of these headlines. It takes a second. Okay. So all of the fuel reactors, all the stricken reactors and spent fuel pools contain plutonium. This was the reclaimed plutonium. This was the mixed oxide plutonium we're talking about. Renewed chain reaction feared at number 4. And you've seen pictures of number 4. It didn't look like Seth Dorn showed you, does it? We think a renewed chain reaction is, where's Sethy baby 2? Is happening in there? And Unit 4 had boiled dry, raising the specter of a nuclear fission chain reaction. And so 600 feet between the towers. Now, that what you're looking at is the same fuel pool Seth Dorn stood up in. Does that make any sense? Kind of lost my way here. Just bear with me 1 second. We're trying to find huge problems. Maybe I'll put it down here. I brought that in down there too. Yeah, I'm going to redo all this. It's just because, see, I don't know which one I'm on. Okay, this is supposed to be separate. Pool is cracked, yeah. Hang on. Not very nice looking stuff, is it? Well, I brought in all kinds of stuff. Okay, I'm gonna go find it and import it. Hang on, because I got to put pictures with my headlines so I can remember separate them. Right? It'll take me a second. Hopefully. There you go. I got it. Here we go. Yup. Boom. I just imported it all in there. And so 3 million children require treatment. Coffee Anna 2000 at the United Nations. And let me make that a bit bigger. Yoink. Right there. Just a bit better. 3 million children. New Goddard's Journal. This is Ian Goddard. Now, Ian Goddard, why is he being quoted, I wonder? But anyway, he's not an academic. He submitted something and then got published because he's part of a nuclear PR firm. Strong's evidence date cancer risk not only exists at low doses, but even at greater per units of dose than you. Now, he's contradicted this repeatedly, where he claims it's like potassium 40. I made a video where I puked in a bucket every time. It's up on YouTube, A Beautiful Girl by Dana. I puked in a bucket every time he says natural and potassium 40. It's a funny video. I'm sure everybody remembers that one. That was wrong, but I done it. Child's risk of cancer from radiation is 10 to 100 times higher than an adult who has the same exposure. But in Goddard's journal, he's a low-life scum-sucking, yellow-belly, cowardly troll on the internet. He's a PR firm's wet dream because he's morally separated that side of his brain and locked it away forever. There's no restoring moral compass to people like him. He's come out and demonized children repeatedly and said, oh, they're faking it, or they're just anxiety because their parents. Like, you know, you look at the studies of Dr. Raymond Gilmedy, and I can import that after because I still haven't got it in there, that I normally cover every day, killing big old dogs and big old puppies. for 35 years, with a lot less than the children were contaminated with. But let's get rocking. Disinformation, and that's what we're talking about, disinformation by nuclear proponents. I'm going to put another camera over here so I can just steer it, but you still got to look over here and run everything. All I done was created this stupid amount of work for myself, but it's working finally. Disinformation by nuclear proponents try to confuse public about the effects. Oh, it's like a banana. It's like getting on an airplane. It's like walking in sunshine. It's like a dental x-ray, like a chest x-ray. It's like sleeping next to somebody. It's like the natural stuff that's everywhere. It's not. And the people that say that got an education, usually, particularly the ones that you see in the media, are educated and they know the difference. So why did they say it? Because that's how powerful and disgusting and manipulative the nuclear industry really truly is. It's captured almost all of our governments, for goodness sakes. Everything's pro-nuclear. No, nobody's ever died from nuclear. Nobody's ever been hurt by nuclear. Under 3% of the children exposed to Chernobyl radiation, while in a womb were diagnosed as healthy at age 7. 3%. So that's basically alluding to what the Coffee Anna is saying too, right? It just supports it. Thyroid I can't even pronounce it today. Abnormalities. Slow down, Dina. In 55% of Fukushima girls tested age 11 to 15. Way to go, kiddies. That's what they're doing. That's what they're like, right? You're okay. You'll be all right. You can't have any kids because there'll be extra arms and legs and big lumps of flesh like the women in Fallujah. But you can still, pay your taxes. So we can have a nice pension and our children can rule over your children. Yummy. I mean, the government that it was hired to do a job in Japan, that's sedition. That's treason. They were paid to look for the radiation and to warn the public. They were given a job to do that specifically. They created over 5,000 speedy charts in the first 50 days. And they didn't share that with the public. That paid for all that. Paid for their pensions, paid for their paychecks every week, paid for their monitoring, gave them the authority, same as Canada, same as America done to us. We paid for these institutions, these universities, academics to do that. We paid for their tenors, paid for their, we sent our children there, we paid the tuitions. And they stabbed us in the back. Same as Woods Hole, Oceanographic Institution, has stabbed you unimaginably in the back about Fukushima. Stabbed you to death, told you to go ahead and eat, feed the stuff to your children. So is the University of Victoria in British Columbia, Canada. What should we do with these places? Should they be disbanded and put away and have their degrees taken away and convicted? And these places razed to the ground? These are the Jimmy Saviles. I mean, the University of Victoria is a Jimmy Savile. That's what it is. And they're hoping that they'll be dead before the people find out what they done. Fukushima girls have 3 times more thyroid because it affects girls up to 10 times worse than boys. Because kids are small, but girls are really vulnerable. That was something we seen in the animal experiments too, where females had more vicious cancers and tumors and diagnosis and autoimmune deficiencies and more likely to contract diabetes and pass autism, of course, through the genes onto their children from the damaged chromosome and DNA in their bodies. Once this stuff gets into your bones, muscles, and organs and sequesters, that's what it does. It's not like homeostasis or homeosis. It's in there now and it's pulsing all the time. And so your body attacks it all the time, constantly with white blood cells displacing the oxygen, the red blood cells carrying the oxygen around your body, depleting, because you can't have it both. So if you start producing a lot of white blood cells with your spleen or your joints, that's where you make them. Your body slows down the production of red to allow for the white to get out there and hunt down the job. But that makes you lazy and lethargic and allows for 1,800 autoimmune deficiencies, diseases, illnesses to manifest before the cancer is diagnosed. Cancer is the mouse in the room. It's the last one to show up. Over 35% in another study. Just 0.8% of children in 2001 study had thyroid cisternols, and there's 36 now in the Fukushima study. So pre-Fukushima studies was less than 1%, and now you're looking at huge numbers on top of how big they are, the sizes on top of that, right? Now the girls are having as much as twice as many. Those kids don't have a voice. Those kids don't have a platform. Those kids don't even understand. Those kids, parents and loved ones and families, the victims, are demonized and vilified down there by the local government, are chastised and humiliated by the teachers and by the people that they're supposed to be able to turn to, that they fund to be able to turn to. It's a total disregard for compassion or human life. Zero. They're like Ian Goddard. They're totally emotionless, heartless, soulless, spineless turds on human species. We're the steward because we encroach up on every other species in every aspect of that word, and it is our obligation to be that steward, not to ignore what's happening. It's really truly not. And that's the power is in you, is not in me. Power is in you. Trust me. Human embryos in US likely bioaccumulating. The tracers. You always talk about the tracers. They're not going to bother telling you about they won't say those words. They're just tracers. We're actually worried about curium and plutonium and americium and neptunium and 12,000 man-made ionizing, radiating atoms. You put 2 million atoms on the head of a needle, but you can't see it. But that's 2 million cancers distributed out. And the cancer is the last one to show up. There's 1,800 diseases, illnesses that could cause you to liquidate your assets. Will show up before the cancer. I never said hi to everybody. Not a good time, I suppose, talking about that subject, but when was I really good with my timing, I wonder? Not one of my strong points. Good morning, everybody. And like you say, hi Kay and Pam and Albert, and I lost my stream when I plugged in. I'll say hi to these because we know they won't show back up when I refresh. Thank you, Amthirst, and Amy, and Kathy, and Candace. Hi, everybody. And I can't focus this morning. Kevin, Nev Killer, Elaine. Hi, Elaine. Nova. And so I'm going to refresh that page, and then I'll have to kill the Adobe again when that happens. What? Can't focus. Oh, I left that running over. I want to turn that off because that feeds into my audio. Maybe you hear the audio. Hi, Zabaz. Pam, Andrea, everybody, Ping. Bruman. Okay, let's keep going. I got 39 people on the stream, but because I refreshed the page, we can't see the other comments. So my apologies. And let me see what I got over here. We'll cover a couple of headlines I got there. Here's The Guardian. Why it's time to dispel the myths about nuclear power. This was yesterday, I think. Dispel myths about nuclear power. Now look at the pictures. Look at it. He's showing you 2 destroyed reactors. Completely and utterly destroyed. I'll bring up the other camera here. You see that? 2 destroyed reactors that he picked out and put there. Okay. Now hang on. Hang on, let me go back. Chernobyl was a perfect storm, a damning tale of the ineptitude leading to needless loss of life. It was also unequivocally the world's worst nuclear accident. And he's got two pictures of two melter reactors. Chernobyl was one reactor. Chernobyl was a 30% meltdown. Now he's saying Chernobyl was worse than the two reactors above it. Not only that, he's saying, hang on. Despite the headlines, the reality is different 5 years later. Radiobiological consequences of Fukushima are practically negligible. No one has died from the event, and it is extraordinarily unlikely that anyone will do so in the future. But he's got two melter reactors at the top of his page, 100% meltdowns with reactor cores that were on the roof that are gone also. Many reactors melted down. Yet he's saying, he's saying unequivocally, the world's Chernobyl was the world's worst. See, that's disgusting. Hang on. The volume of radioactive leak from the site is so small as to be of no health concern. There is no detectable radiation from the accident Fukushima grown food, nor in fish caught off the coast. And this, of course, hasn't stopped numerous organizations employing Fukushima as an anti-nuclear argument, despite the lack of justification for doing so. Look at this one. No one has died from the event, and it is extraordinarily unlikely that anyone will do so in the future. See, the mental illness, and who's going to call him out besides me? Who's going to go get in his face besides me? Who's going to point out how wrong he is in the media and call him out for it? Who's the checks and balances? There's no one to hold these people accountable. There's zero people to hold that person, David Robert Shithead. That was yesterday, right? Here he is with two melter reactors. He said no one died, no one's going to get sick, there's no releases, it all stayed right there in the detonated buildings. And so why would you even trust your media? How can you trust your media? I'll come back over here. How can you trust your media when they're doing stuff like that? Data showed a large spike in deaths, premature infant deaths in the 14 weeks. But yet, here's the Guardian saying no one, the editors allowed them to post that with that connotation, with those words, with those paragraphs, with those pictures. With all the supporting documentation out there, the editor should have said, you're fired because you're an idiot. You're a moron. You're a useless sack of shit. You're nothing but disrespect to the name journalism. You're a disappointment to your mother and your father and anybody that's ever meet you will ever meet you. Get the fuck off my property right now, you piece of shit. Nope. The Guardian let him post it. And all he had to do was look up a headline like that. I'm smoking a cigarette. It doesn't have 7,000 chemicals. Don't have a seizure. Don't go in a corner and defecate because then I had a cigarette. Health physicists in the U.S. worried about inhaling hot particles. Columbia medical professor, inhaling just one radioactive hot particle can cause a cancer. Cleared at low level contamination, probably more dangerous than a single dose. Infant deaths are up in BC after Fukushima. Compared to every other year during those months, there was a mass amount of 14,000 in one study, just below you see that time. Not just cancer, how low doses of radiation can cause heart disease and strokes in almost 1,800. And I meant to import that in here this morning. I didn't have it for everybody. We're going to cover that daily soon. 35% have. Now they say, you love this one. They say that they're finding more because they're looking. And they're using sophisticated equipment to look. But they used this sophisticated equipment in other prefectures, and they didn't find that. But in the prefectures around Japan's reactors, within ranges of it that they did test, they found these spikes. Right? So there you go. They tested in other areas where there wasn't a huge amount of fallout, and they only found a small percentage increase. They checked it in Fukushima prefecture, huge increases. They went to other outside of prefectures, small increases, went back around Fukushima, Miyagi, Minnesota, and places like that, and they found huge increases. It's good science, eh? It's good. It's legitimate, is what I'm saying to you. Everything you're seeing there is legitimate. And here's the Guardian saying, no, nobody got sick. Like heartless, soulless, spineless monsters, ignoring the plight of these children. As a journalist, as an editor, as a major mainstream media, this is what we see repeatedly. And you got to call them out. You got to hold them accountable. You got to understand that the only way they're going to be checks and balances is if everybody bludgeons the fuck right out of them. No offense to the fucks. Now 35% of children. So 13,000 do. Now just because, oh, they can treat thyroid. Look, thyroid is emblematic. It's not iodine 131 you're worried about in thyroid either. It's curium and cesium aggregate in the thyroid, and uranium and plutonium, but a lot more of the other ones. And if it didn't get to your thyroid, it's still in your fucking body, morons. Not to the people that understand what I'm talking about, but to the morons that are apologizing and always using that as an argument. Oh, they can treat the thyroid, Dana. Yeah, but now it's in their body. Now their body's being attacked by white blood cells for the next couple of decades until a cancer forms and gets diagnosed and manifest. And before that, all kinds of illnesses, and these children's lives are ruined forever after that. That minute that happens to them, the very day, the very second, their body is attacking it non-stop for decades to build a tumor around it. Just keep boogieing. So it's not just, the thyroid is emblematic of the contamination. They're only looking for thyroid. They're not looking for the autoimmune because it doesn't manifest till later. And you want 100 times higher than the EPA. See? Because they're insane. There's no one to hold them accountable. They don't do anything moral. They only do what they're told to cover for the nuclear industry. So scientists can now come out and say, oh, it's 50 times lower than what's allowed if they raise it up that way. See? Nuclear industry propaganda about low level radiation is rubbish. It's all about internal. Boom, boom, boom in your body every second. So you can sit in a chair and the radiation pulses out of your fucking body like that pulse you just saw that time. And the Geiger counter picks it up. It's not going to pick up potassium 40 or rubidium or anything like that that's in your body. That's natural. It doesn't pick up sunshine. Your Geiger counter, you don't go. It doesn't work that way, okay? They're punching you in the mouth when they tell you that. They're kicking you, they're spitting on you, they're pissing on you when they tell you that. When the media comes out, when an apologist and don't have a counter argument like me, because that'll wreck them, they're done. You have one counter argument, you have one person like me show up in the debate, they're done. Their Twitter is fucked forever. People will bash them until the end of time. Look, the tobacco industry puts 7,000 chemicals in a cigarette. These don't have it. There's natural tobacco out there. 7,000. And the media's, nicotine's bad. Cigarettes are bad. But they never bother saying the people that put the 7,000 chemicals or who they are in your cigarette. No investigative reporting. No reporting. Just keep bashing you because you're addicted to something they won't tell you. They won't help you understand how to break that addiction. The minute you understand the 7,000 chemicals, that's your way forward. Now you know why you're so fucking addicted. Excuse me, I'm in one of those moods today. Whenever I talk about kids, I get pissy every time, man. It drives me insane. Don't be paid by the industry consultants. They're not consultants. They're mass murderers. There's insidious infiltrators into our society and into people's homes. It's insidious that they're allowed to say what they say. A single particle causes a fibrotic node in the lung. That eases the fear. A single particle. And like I showed you earlier, you were breathing 10 hot particles a day minimum. How the brainwashing was done in Fukushima tweets painted propaganda effort by the Japanese government that would make Goebbels and Bernays proud. Shocking, isn't it? Children with over 11 becquerels a kilogram of cesium, not potassium. So you might have 10,000 becquerels in your body, but you can't get any more potassium-40. It'll always be 10,000 till the day you die. But you can gather 11 becquerels every day, and the day you died, you'd have millions inside of you. Because it sequesters in your organs and your muscles. And there's 100 times more strontium-90 with every cesium, for Christ's sakes. 100 times. And strontium-90 has the same lifespan. But with that comes the other 12,000 radioactive isotopes. These are just tracers that we talk about. You got one, you got all the other ones. And the effects of ones are irrelevant compared to most of the other ones. Curium is brutal. The studies on the dogs and the animals over decades, 70 years, tells us the truth. See? Radiation in small doses could be disproportionately worse. If you're living in the environment where you're constantly exposed to it, if it's in there, you're constantly exposed, but it's getting sequestered, it's being attacked, it's still pulsing, don't get me wrong. But if you're living in that environment and everything around you, it's like living in an area where there's always a forest fire right alongside of you, and the wind is always blowing towards you. Because you can see that, but you can't see radiation. See? That's all I'm saying. Tritium rain, remember what I was showing you earlier? In Canada, in the 80s and 90s, it was 5 to 11 becquerels a cubic meter. Now it's 7,000 in a liter. Because they start swearing today. I shouldn't even stream it. I'm so pissy. Thyroid cancer's risk lasts entire life after radiation exposure. And leukemia shows up fairly quick. And that's why you see 15 to 20% more leukemias for children around nuclear power plants in every study that was ever done. And you see 6 times more breast cancer for women around every nuclear power plant for the few that were done in different countries. They all showed that. There was a incredible, not a significant, but a frightening epidemic of diseases and illnesses. They never bothered studying how much diabetes was in these areas, or Alzheimer's, or dementia, or autism, or heart, liver, lung, respiratory, pituitary, or the almost 1,800 autoimmune illnesses that are associated and show up before the cancer because of radiation ingestion. And that's the insidious thing about this, see? Let's rock it again. One more time. Scientists, irreversible heart damage for children with 50 becquerels. And so a child can't articulate what the issue is. Mommy, I don't feel good. Daddy, I don't feel good, right? And, we have increased the level to 1,200 becquerels a kilogram for food in North America. So we are dying to die. That's what our government and the people that think that they're in charge, that think they, right now, because their reign of terror is almost over, because the people realize the Pacific Ocean has died and that there's only 1% of 1% of 1% left. By the end of this year, there'll be no whales in British Columbia, Canada, or seals, or sea lions, or porpoises, or dolphins, or anything like that. Because all the krill and the anchovies and the shrimps and the sardines and the 6,500 invertebrates without the backbones and the more than 5,000 species in the tidal zones and all missing, and the 4 million other species haven't receded the coastline. The insects are missing from the forest. The insects are missing from the interior. The birds and everything else are dying of starvation throughout the whole coastline. And so every day I come to battle that I can. Significant rise in cancer risk within 5 years after exposure to low dose. 12% increase after 40 millisieverts. But that's just cancers, and cancers take forever to show up. It's not a study on all the other autoimmune diseases, see? Significant risk in cancer? I bet. Cesium immediately damages, and there was a study of 20,000 people had heart attacks and died just after Fukushima, compared to every year previous to that. In that month, had died. Very significant deaths. Nuclear radiation is the most carcinogenic thing, because a single atom, you put 2 million atoms in the head of a needle, but a single one will kill you in 20 or 30 years, and it'll liquidate your assets long before that with autoimmune illnesses. 23% higher incidence, 23, see I always say like 15 or 20%. It's 23% of higher incidence of childhood leukemias. These are killers. These are killers. And then you go to the hospital and they inject you with more radioactive isotopes because your loved ones were forced to sign a piece of paper in desperation to keep you alive. Not understanding that the doctor is a fucking murderer because they put toxic waste into your children now. This is the biggest betrayal imaginable to the human, is that we do this in hospitals. Let's give people chemotherapy. Only 2% survive any longer than they were expected to live without it. And so it's no accident. It's just because they never even had leukemia, most likely. That's why they survived. We got to stop these sorts of people coming out. International conference warns that media talk of Fukushima health effect may be harmful. This is a nuclear industry. We got to stop these reports from coming out. We got to stop the nuclear industry from surviving another fucking day. When radioactive cesium enters the body, 75% of it lodges in the muscle, because I'm reading 3 screens at the one time, in muscle, tissue, see I'm looking away at the same time, tissue including heart. I'm trying to remember the sentence and then looking at the other screens to keep up to speed with everything that I'm trying to do here. Officials sharply raised radiation levels for residents to get iodine, which doesn't really, who cares? But see, the thyroid is a gland. It's not like an organ that you can get transplanted or where you can get chunks taken out of it. It's a gland. And so it's a very unique, and so, it's right in your throat. And so it's a highly visible and very personal type of injury and a very traumatizing. I lost a really close friend. His gland died a few months after Fukushima. He was on the west coast of British Columbia. And it broke my heart, for sure. It's not the only one, I'm sure. Xenon known to cause dramatic increases in lung cancer. And so North America was bombarded with xenon. That's confirmed from Fukushima. Now, Fukushima is not 2.5 times Chernobyl. It was like a million times Chernobyl, folks. You got to realize what happened, what Chernobyl actually was. I'll give you Chernobyl. Chernobyl, that was the boat we used on the Expedition for Life. And that map is a depiction I made of just rough idea of how much of the coastline we covered and spots we covered in the area for 260 days, 15,000 miles. In the Zodiac, and instead of looking like this, where there's 75 per square meter in Louise Narrows, I was there. It was naked. And that bird over my head, he couldn't land somewhere and eat like he normally could because it was naked, right? That whole Louise Narrows was naked. Everything is gone. That's Louise Narrows. And the pictures are pre-Louise Narrows, pre-Fukushima. It's pre-Fukushima, Louise Narrows. Look, anybody can eat anywhere, anytime they want, right? Now it's naked. That's before and after pictures. This is pictures I took on the expedition. And like you said, it used to be 75. That's Burnaby Narrows. That's a little further up the coast. I also done that. The pictures are up at the nuclearproctologist.org's website of Burnaby Narrows and Louise Narrows. But these pictures, that there is emblematic of the coastline of British Columbia. All of that, everywhere you go, that's what made BC so unique, right? Because you can go anywhere in BC and you would see that. And I did. I went throughout BC and I drove this whole coastline. But when I went there last year, in 2014, 2015, 260 days, it was all gone. That was nowhere to be seen. I never seen that a single time. Because most of the coastline was stripped naked. There was 100 species left on the coastline. But Chernobyl, 2006, Vidal was one of many who had wrote about it. This one was 2006. And look at your third sentence. And for the next 10 days, spewed the equivalent of 400 Hiroshima bombs worth of radioactivity across 150,000 square miles of Europe and beyond. And so, because of hell on earth, which is nothing, that was nothing compared to Fukushima, right? That was nothing compared to the radioactive fallout of Fukushima. That was nothing compared to the big lie telling you that the inside of that was this, according to Seth Dorn.
Of the decommissioning work taking place here in Reactor 4.
Taking place here in Reactor 4. And so Vidal, 400 Hiroshima bombs. But Fukushima, they rolled out and said it looked like that the nuclear power plants were the only things that survived the tsunami. When we know they couldn't restore power, we know the significance of not restoring the power. We know that inside of that building, right, that's Unit 3. Look at the left and look at your right on the bottom. Look at your left on the ground. The building's completely gutted. And yet, that's the wrong one. How did I get off of that? Oh, that's the Zodiac going up the coastline. I'm coming back home. Anyway, here's Seth Dorn saying he's inside of Unit 4. And what was it? Stanford University. It's 24 seconds long. Let's play that again. Matthew Wald.
Stanford University.
We are very, very lucky today to have two real experts on this topic. The first is Matthew Wald from the New York Times.
Although it's a mess to try to cope with a meltdown, or three meltdowns in the spent fuel pool right after a tsunami.
So 3 meltdowns, right, and the fuel pools right after the tsunami. That was on April 11th. Right, and so you look at the studies pre-Fukushima, and then you look at the other studies around the world pre-Fukushima, and what do you get? You got 2 becquerels, 3 becquerels per cubic or per liter, basically, right? Concentrations, these 1.5 becquerels a liter. You got pre-studies of pre-Fukushima in Italy. All of these are showing you the same thing, right? Pre-Fukushima studies. During 1994 period was, you know, a little less than Canada, right? And then you look at Canada now. Now we're allowed to have 7,000 becquerels of 3H, that's man-made. There's natural tritium, there's natural strontium, natural iodine, natural cesium, but look at your left, natural radionuclides. Look at the lead, 0.2. Look at total uranium, it's not even becquerels, it's milligrams. Because it hasn't gone through a chain reaction yet. See? Once it goes through a chain reaction, because all you're putting in a chain reaction, you're not putting in tritium or strontium or iodine, you're putting in uranium and plutonium. And it creates everything. They're all man-made, see? Let's come back and cover a few more of those. I covered all those kids' headlines, I think, yeah. Hang on. Damage spent fuel pool number 4 had 204 unused fuel rods inserted before the quake. 204 fuel rods inserted before the quake. Number 4. Hang on. Each reactor takes 3,840 assemblies, 282,000 rods. 280, and then every 18 months, that's 5 million pounds that goes up on so-called, not the roof, but goes up in the ceiling area and spent storage facilities for the reactor cores. So when they talk about a couple of hundred rods, that's the distraction, that's the manipulation, right? Let's keep going anyway. Spent fuel pool number 4 dropped to 1/3 capacity. Yeah, that dropped to 1/3 capacity. Oh, okay. So what you're trying to say is that that building there dropped to 1/3 capacity. Okay, thanks a lot for telling me that. Whatever. Because it's all gone, you get it? You're done, that's it. Seal leaks at Unit 4. You can never pump enough water and establish the level again. If the seal is gone in that, in what? There's nothing there. Do you get the law? Do you understand why I'm like I am, why I say the things I say, why I say it the way I say it when I'm showing you the documentation? How can that be bad? How, you know, who else does this for you? Again, I'm sorry. That's why I exist, because I understand that people like me have to exist, so that people can be educated and understand how big that law really truly is. Yeah, oh, I'm sure the water's going to drop in something that's not there. After number 4, boiling point is empty. There you go. It's empty. Does that look like it's empty? Does that look like it's utter, complete destruction and spewed all over the site? Not with you, I'll go with the ladder. To me, it means TEPCO knows about a rip in a spent fuel pool liner at Fukushima Unit 3. Have you seen Unit 3? So they're saying there could be a rip in the liner of Unit 3. Okay. There's Unit 3. Do you think there's going to be a rip in the liner of that thing there? Dan, I don't know what you're getting upset about. You should just fire that right up. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, there's a rip in the liner in Unit 3. Okay, can you show me a picture? No, what do you want to see a picture for? Well, I like to see a picture. I can't show you a picture. We don't have one. Okay. Nobody bothers saying, hey, let's put a picture. Reactor 4 spent fuel pool cracked from the earthquake. Hang on. Little dancing every single time. I gotta move these pictures closer together. That's Unit 4. You think there's a crack there anywhere? Cracker. Let's keep going. Spent fuel pool in reactor 4 damaged and leaking fast. I gotta import that picture and a couple of pictures over here, because otherwise I'm dancing back and forth. Nothing got damaged there. It was all fine. Nobody died in Fukushima. Sorry. Nobody died in Fukushima. That stuff. From radioactive. They all died from the tsunami debris, right? But all the headlines I'm showing you, they don't mean nothing. That don't mean nothing. That means nothing. That means nothing, Dana. We got a headline that says different, Dana. It says nobody died, Dana. You fearmonger, Dana. Temperature and fuel pool at number 4 much higher than normal levels. Temperatures are much higher than normal levels. Temperatures in that spent fuel pool that don't exist are much higher than normal levels. Right, because the fuel pools, wait for it, the fuel pools throughout the coastline were built so strong, Dina. They were so tough and so big and so bad and so fantastic that they could rip these tanks to pieces and blow the buildings to sky high. There could be no power. There could be nothing left on the planet around it. But I can assure you, Dana, that the fuel pools didn't create the 30 million bag, 1 ton bags, like 1 ton trucks, bumper to bumper, would circle the planet 5 fucking times. No, none of that. And the water boiled on something that wasn't even there. Pool is cracked and leaking. I wish it was. Like bleeding into the ocean routine, I guess. Radiation streaming into the atmosphere after number 4. Thank you. Oh, here's a good one. Evidence of significant hole or cracks. How do you think they got the 30 million bags? Yeah, there's probably a few cracks in that, I suppose. I'll give you that. That's all I'm giving you, though. And there we are. That's the show. I didn't realize we were right up to that point. Already. So let's call it a show, I guess. Come on, let's say hi to everybody. Have a good day, everybody. Just let me see who's yelling at me. Could be. And it's just Roger. Come in and say hi. Okay, let's come over and say good day to everybody. I didn't realize it was 11:30. I had another set there I wanted to cover. I guess that'll have to wait till tomorrow. Let's bring up that other camera. That one. Yo. Thanks for everybody. We burned through an hour that time, man. Woo! Yeah, I hope she learned how to car surf too. Nip Killer. Hello, everybody. Thanks, Nip Killer. Amthurst. Hugs for everybody. Shabazz. And Pam. Thank you, Pam. And Kathy. Thank you, Ping. And everybody. Nova. And all the other people out there that are not commenting or don't feel like it. We created this account so you wouldn't have to sign in and get an account, because the free ones you have to get an account to watch, right? But you pay $600 and people don't need an account to watch you. And that way you can just sit there and watch it without no headaches. It'll be a very high quality from here on out, posted at Beautiful Girl by Dana on YouTube. And that's, since yesterday I can feel the weight off my shoulder now that I've reached that stage where I've got that accomplished. So every day now I know the quality coming out will be really good quality. Too bad about the guy giving it, but at least the material, the pictures, the headlines are all extremely legible in the repost. Right now live streams only let me stream in 480, but I paid to be able to stream in 1080. So today or tomorrow I'll go look that up and figure out what's going on. See if I can rectify that. But when I checked yesterday, it was still only a 480 stream. It should have been a 1080. But I'm recording in a 1080. It's really good quality, and it'll be posted up in about an hour and a half at Beautiful Girl by Dana on YouTube. Hugs for everybody. Take care, folks. Elaine and Jan Brooks and everybody else. Thomas Ackerman. Spirit Underwater. Dana Durnford. That's right, Thomas. Hugs, buddy. For you and your loved ones. Thank you, everyone. Crystal. And anybody that I don't know is out there. Thank you for paying attention. Thank you for learning. Thank you for understanding. And thank you for your moral compass. And I'll be back tomorrow, 11 or 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time at livestream.com. Find the pre-show at Beautiful Girl by Dana on YouTube. Hugs for everybody.